We're starting section 4 of chapter 9, which looks at measures of variation within our data. So you're going to write down some notes. I would recommend that you pause the video, write down the notes, and then you can listen as I go through the notes. If you need to rewind, you can rewind, but please do not fast forward through the notes because that will not help you at all. And I can see when you've gone through the video a lot faster than you should. So for now, please write down everything you see on the screen, and if you need to, pause the video. If something's confusing, write yourself a side note so that we can go over that tomorrow during class. So, measures of variation. What is variation? Well, as you can see by the notes, it says variation describes the distribution of the data from the greatest value to the smallest value. And one way we look at that variation is we look at the range. So the range looks at the greatest value that we have of all of our data, and we subtract from that the smallest value, so we get a range. If our range is really big, we know we have a lot of variation within our data, and if that range is very small, we know that we have some pretty good data. So again, go ahead, write down the notes, and just a reminder, you can pause the video if you need to. So here's my first example, finding the range. So again, like I said before, you might want to pause the video, write all this down, but leave space to write down some numbers in between. And then when you're ready to go through the example, go ahead and hit play. So my table or my data shows the lengths in feet of great white sharks at a local aquarium. So we want to find and interpret the range of their lengths. So here are all of their lengths. So you're going to write those down in your notebook. And our first step is we want to arrange the numbers from smallest to largest, which we've been practicing before. So I'm going to write them down. So I think 14 is my smallest. I have 14, 14. Then I have 15 and 15, and then I have a 15.5 and a 16. I see a 16.5. I see a 17 and 18. I'll have to sneak in that little 19 there. So I always double check to make sure I have all my data, so I count them. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 data points, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have them all down. So I did this. I arranged from smallest to largest. So I want to find the greatest value. My greatest value is 19, and my smallest value is 14. So my range is just 5 feet. So that's a pretty good range. So it's within acceptable levels. So it isn't a huge range, it's only 5 feet. So now you're going to practice one of these on your own. So here's your data. So we have the ages of people in line for the Big Dipper roller coaster in Santa Cruz. So here's your data. Probably don't need that there. So here's your data. So what is the range of ages for people in line at the roller coaster in Santa Cruz? If you've never done that roller coaster, you need to. It's a pretty cool roller coaster. So when you're ready, go ahead and put your answer in the text box on the right. Now we're going to look at quartiles. So again, if you need to, pause the video, write all this information down, and then you can listen to me as you look at your notes. So a quartile is when the data is divided into 4 equal parts. So quartile is 4. So we have some steps we're going to follow in order to do that. So first we're going to organize the data from least to greatest, which we just practiced. We're going to find the median, which we've done in the past, and that we're labeling as Q2 or quartile 2. And we're going to find the median of the lower half of the numbers, and that's Q1. So don't worry, I'm going to give you an example to show you how to do this, but first we're going to write down the steps. And then the fourth thing is find the median of the upper half of our numbers, and that will be Q3. So we have Q1, Q2, and Q3. So we've divided them into 4 pieces. So we have a Q1, a Q2, and a Q3. I'm going to give you an example to show you how that works. Okay, so again, write down the information, but leave some space in between because we're going to be finding our quartiles. So here are all of my numbers. We can see these are ages of people. So the first thing we want to organize, and remember we organize from least to greatest. So let's do this like we've been doing. So my first number is 18. Hopefully I'll leave enough space this time. 18, I think 21 and 22. And then 24, 28. And then 30, 31. 32, 36, 37. Okay, and I'm going to double check my numbers again because I don't want to leave a number out and get everything wrong after that. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers. And in my numbers, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good, so I have all my numbers. So like we did before, we want to find the median. So remember, you keep counting to the middle. So here's 1, there's 1, there's 1, there's 1. So I'm just going to keep going until I get to the middle. I have these two numbers. So remember, when I have two numbers, I add them together, divide by 2. So I know that number is going to be a 29. So that's my Q2. Now, I'm going to find the lower median. So, because I didn't use this 28, I can count that 28. So I'm going to use a different color so that you can see my lower quartiles. So now I'm going to do just the same thing. So I'm going to start here and just look at my lower numbers from my Q2 down. So there's a number, there's a number, there's a number. So right here, number 22 is my Q1. Okay, now I want to do the same thing with the upper numbers. So again, I'm going to use a different color to show you that. So I didn't use my 30, so I can use that number. So if I had actually used it, so like 29, I wouldn't use that to find my upper quartile. So we have a 29, we have 37. So again, we're just going to go to the middle. So here is my Q3 is 32. Okay, so I have found my lower quartile, my Q1, my Q2, and my Q3. Okay, so now you're going to practice that. Okay, sorry, we're not going to practice that just yet. We're going to look for our interquartile range, and I'm going to abbreviate that as interquartile range, IQR. So that's just our range from Q3 to Q1. So we want to know how spread out are my values between these two. So I'm going to take 32 minus 22. So my interquartile range is 10. Okay, so now we know how to get the total range, and we can get the interquartile range. So that's between our quartiles, so between Q1 and Q3. So now we're going to try another example because we want to make sure we know how to find the interquartile range. So here down below we have the amount of money in a savings account. We want to find and interpret the interquartile range. So remember, you can pause the video, write all this down, and then you can listen to me later while you look at your notes. Again, if you have a question, write your question down on the side because you might forget it by tomorrow, and then we can answer that tomorrow during class. So we're going to go through the same process that we've been doing. So the first thing is I always organize our data from least to greatest. So if I look at my data, I'm going to go 444 is my smallest, then 466, gosh, then what, 532, 560, and you want to make sure that you can get all of these in one string, because when we try to get to that median, it'll get confusing if you have these in two different lines. And it looks like I made a typo here, so let's just make that, instead of 5,112, let's just make that 512. I'm looking at my notes, and that's what I really want. So I oopsied, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to fix that. So I want my 512, then I want my 532, then I want my 560. I'll put some commas between these two so I can tell where I'm at. Then I got 636, 698, oh goodness gracious, and then I have 728. Okay, so I should have started over to the left a little bit more. Okay, so first we want to find our median. So remember, we go to the middle. So 1, 1. So we're going to work our way to the middle. So we have these two numbers, 532 and 560. So I'm going to add them together and divide by 2. And that gives me 546 is my median. So 546 is my median, which is also my Q2. So now we're going to go find our Q1. So we're going to use this number. So we have 1, 1. Oh gosh, now we have 2 more in the middle. So we're going to take 466 plus 512, divide by 2. Sorry, that's for my Q1. Should probably leave more space. So that equals 489. So my Q1 is 489. Wow, this is a mess. What should I do? I'm going to start over because I can't understand a thing I'm doing. And that's what I need you guys to do as well. So if you can't really see what you're doing, start over. Make it organized and neat. Let me try to write smaller to see if we can get this all to fit nicely. So 560. I'm going to sneak in my 532 to the other side. Oh gosh, what am I doing? Let's clean that up. Okay, let's look at the notes. Whoa, Nelly. Okay.